We'll start in just a couple of minutes. Welcome.
Hello.
Do you see the number going up?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, good.
Let's lie and say it's 5,000. We're just waiting for a few more people to come on. Sorry. Just kidding. Oh, I'm muted. Okay. Y'all are lucky today because I'm from a German Jewish background and we start on time to reward those of you who are actually here at this moment and not make you wait for the people who are late. Is it still before our
Recording in progress.
It's 11 o'clock. Let's get started.
Okay, hit it.
All right, let's do it. Hi, everyone. My name is Rabbi Scott Kalmakoff. I have the pleasure of being a genealogist at the Calico Center at the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust. I have the pleasure of filling in for Avram Grohl, who's the executive director of JewishGen. Today's program offers a sneak peek into next week's premiere of Generations. We are joined by Brad Pomerantz, host of the program, and Karen Franklin, chief genealogist. They will take us behind the scenes and also talk about how the research was done and, of course, how you could watch the show next week. This session is being recorded. It will be sent out via email later today or tomorrow. There will also be time for a Q&A, questions and answers. Questions should be posted in the Q&A section, not in the chat. Before getting to the program, we have a brief bio of the speakers. Karen Franklin, who is sitting to my left, is the consulting director of the Calico Center and director of family research at Leo Beck Institute. She needs no real introduction, having chaired the Council of American Jewish Museums, served as co-chair of the JewishGen Board of Governors, and president of the IAJGS, the International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies. Brad Pomerantz currently serves as executive vice president at Jewish Life Television, the nation's largest and most robust English-language Jewish-themed television network. In addition to Generations, Brad also hosts and produces JLTV's award-winning global travel series Air, Land, and Sea, and Uncovered in the Archives, a historically driven television series for PBS affiliate KVCR in Southern California. He has been nominated for 3 Los Angeles area Emmys. I'm going to turn it over now to Brad and Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Should I start, Karen? Should I just jump on in? Okay. My name is Brad Pomerantz, and I have the tremendous honor of being the host of Generations, which, as you know, is a co-production of JLTV, the Museum of Jewish Heritage, and JewishGen. I want to tell you a bit about the show. Here's our lovely logo. And on our first episode, we feature Cameron Manheim, who you may know from The Practice and Law and Order, as well as her son, Milo Manheim, who is an up-and-coming actor known for Zombies and School Spirits. Now, when the team started to consider who to bring on to our first episode, surely we presumed that we would have the opportunity to march through Eastern Europe, but we had no idea that when we brought on the Manheims, we'd be marching through the American Civil War. In fact, that is what happened on this episode of Generations, because we learned that Cameron's great-great-grandfather, Jacob Harris, was a Polish Jew that immigrated to the United States and apparently was living in the South in and around Tennessee. And she had absolutely no idea. And for Jews to be in America during the 1850s was incredibly rare. So the big question became, could Milo and Cameron Manheim be descendants of a Confederate soldier? Suffice it to say, you will see on the episode that caused Cameron and Milo a lot of agita or tremendous concern. So what I'd like to do now is play a clip from Generations, which, as you know, is premiering this Monday, March 3rd at 9 p.m. If you want to know where to watch Generations, you can click on jltv.tv/channels. And for extended scenes, you can go to the Generations show page. But why don't we watch a clip of Generations premiering this Monday, March 3rd at 9 p.m.
In the mid-19th century, the Jewish community in the United States was a fraction of the size of today's Jewish population. That community hovered around 150,000, or about 0.5% of the total American population. Many Jewish men worked as peddlers in Europe, so upon their arrival, these Jewish immigrants assumed the same profession on the American continent, traveling from town to town, with many selling not so much necessities, but quasi-luxuries. Once they decided they could afford to step off the road, these Jewish men would settle down and open storefronts. When the Civil War broke out, Jews joined the war effort. 7,000 Jews fought for the Union, while 3,000 Jews battled for the Confederacy. I wanted the both of you to get a glimpse of what life was like for Jews coming to the United States in the mid-1800s. Jacob Paris, your great-great-grandfather, moved to the United States of America in 1856. 5 years before the Civil War started, he was 15 years old. What was Jacob Paris doing during the Civil War? Your great-great-grandfather is one elusive guy, genealogically speaking. We narrowed our search to 3 Jacob Harrises. Wow. That we thought could be your great-great-grandfather.
We can maybe help figure this out.
You can.
We can narrow it down.
We found a record of a Jacob Harris in Tennessee that was serving in the military. So you see Jacob Harris, but you'll notice USCT. That's a Union soldier serving from Tennessee. Do you have any idea what CT stands for?
No.
United States Colored Troops.
So that rules out Jacob Harris
Yes.
#1.
Okay, cool.
Let's go to Jacob Harris #2.
Got it.
He also is from Tennessee. He was selling provisions to the Confederate military. And we know from this package that many Jews were peddlers, so it would make sense that Jacob Harris could be peddling to the Confederate military. Yep. But look at the notations on the receipts of what he was selling. What does that say?
Bacon.
Bacon. Go to the next one.
Oh, more bacon. And whatever that says.
Yeah, it's bacon.
Okay, cool.
Could it be that your great-great-grandfather was a bacon-selling Confederate?
It's unlikely.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know his level of religious observance.
Boy, he really loved bacon. He bought $69
Yeah,
worth.
that's a lot, consider it. What we decided to do is compare signatures. Go to the next document.
This is
I need to-
amazing.
I need to look at it. Okay, cool.
That is a known signature of your great-great-grandfather.
This is.
Yep, that is known. We know that 100% is your great-great-grandfather. Look at the H's.
Yeah.
You think it's the same one?
No.
No.
No, this H has
is way
no
better handwriting.
filigree.
Yes.
This one has a lot.
And these are not even connected really here. This looks more like our handwriting.
Jacob Harris #2 is not your great-great-great-grandfather. Let's go to Jacob Harris #3. Milo, I want you to read the highlighted section.
Okay. Harris, Jacob, 21 years old, I'm assuming. I don't know what this says. Is it-
Peddler.
Oh, peddler. Okay. Poland.
We know he was born 1841, 1842. In 1863, how old would your Jacob Harris be?
Around this age.
21. Okay.
21.
We know from the historical record that the primary profession of Jewish men, peddlers. He's a peddler. We know that in the mid-1800s, very few Jews were immigrating from Poland. We are confident that we have found your great-great-grandfather, Jacob Harris, on a Union draft eligibility document.
Jacob Harris, number 3. Wow.
You are not a descendant of a Confederate soldier.
That is crazy.
Ay, ay, ay. So I gotta tell you, I get chills even watching it now after all this time. And so what we want to do now is quickly kind of explain to you how and why we determined that this was our Jacob Harris. And you can see right here on this document, he's in, the Union stands for the county, Jacob Harris, 21, a peddler from Poland. But here's what we didn't know. We didn't know if Jacob Harris actually served. And that was a big question. Was he serving in the Union military? We didn't delve deeply into this, and that's what we're going to do on this webinar, is we're going to go beyond what you'll see on Monday and explain to you what we learned in terms of whether Jacob Harris actually served. Remember, he was in his early 20s, so it's likely that he could have served. Most men did at that age. So the first thing we saw, and this is Karen's team, was a census record from 1930. And if you look at this census record, it asks if Jacob Harris was a veteran, and that box was left blank. So the 1930 census didn't help us. We then went to the 1910 census, and that asked if you were a survivor of the Union or Confederate Army or Navy. And there are some numbers in this on lines 30 and 31, and that caused us tremendous confusion. But Karen's team was able to figure out that those numbers really didn't mean anything. We found some guidance in the National Archives which showed that these numbers were just summaries that the Census Bureau tabulators put down that was something completely unrelated to Civil War service. We proceeded to look at the census records from 1870, 5 years after the Civil War ended. And the question is, were you involved in the rebellion? And again, the box is blank. So we were starting from ground zero. What we did know, and you do learn this later in the show, is that Jacob Harris was at some point after the Civil War living in Tennessee, and that we see based upon the birthplace of one of his children. So we thought maybe he was in Tennessee during the Civil War. It would make sense since he was there in 1868. The Civil War ended in 1865. And then we were able to uncover that his brother-in-law served the Confederacy. So that made us think, wow, if his brother-in-law served the Confederacy, maybe he served in the Confederacy. But ultimately, as you saw, we found pieces of information, the United States Color Troop Jacob Harris, the bacon selling Confederate Jacob Harris. So we hit a dead end in Tennessee. We then went and we saw that another child of his was born in Missouri. And that's what's brought us to Missouri. Now, remember, Missouri was a border state. The southern part of Missouri had a lot of Confederate sympathies. The northern part had Union sympathies. And we ultimately, thanks to the incredible work, and hopefully he's watching, of Alex Kalzareth, he was able to find this census record from a town in northeast Missouri where we saw our Jacob Harris. And it was an amazing moment. I'll never forget when Karen called me and said, we got him, we found him. It took a long time, Karen, am I right? It took a very long time. Okay, so, but we still don't know, was he, we see that he was on a draft document, but we didn't know anything beyond that. Did he actually serve? And so then we started to look at records from the Civil War era, specifically with regard to Jews. We read this book, Adam Mendelsohn, you probably know that name. And we looked into specific draft records in Missouri to see what was going on in Missouri on the Union side. And we determined that on the Union side, they actually were not drafting many because they had enough enlistees, enough people were volunteering. And then we looked at the president's election in 1860. Suffice it to say, Missouri was a Democratic state. And so the Civil War was seen as a Republican war because Abe Lincoln was a Republican. And so it's not as if Missouri Democrats were rushing to support the Union cause. We also know that most Jews in the era were Democrats because Jews supported immigrant rights, supported religious minorities. They were peddlers. Republicans supported tariffs. And we also saw in the press that Jews were not painted so well, especially Jewish peddlers. And so there just wasn't a rush amongst Jews to serve in the Union forces if they didn't have to. We also know that Jacob Harris was not a citizen. And under American law, Union law, citizens were not, non-citizens were not required to serve. So if he wasn't required to serve, that's another reason why he may not have rushed to serve the Union forces. He was also a Polish Jew. And if you look at the number of Jews serving in the Union Army, only 5% were from the Russian Empire, which included Poland. Most of the Jews serving were German Jews. He was not German. So there was no reason for him to rush to serve when his fellow Polish Jews were not serving. So in the end, in the final analysis, when you consider that around the time that he was being put on the draft document, you had General Order Number 11, where General Grant excluded Jews from the Department of Tennessee. The Union Army wasn't doing very well. We felt confident to say that Jacob Harris was definitely on a Union draft document, but ultimately he did not serve. On that note, I'd like to play a quick little commercial that you'll see air on Generations on Monday. Feel free to take a snapshot of the QR code because if you love Generations, and we know you will, we'd like to hear from you.
You want to see more original episodes of Generations? Well, just scan the QR code on your screen to tell us why you are a Generations fan and that you want more Generations. Generations, the first and only Jewish-themed genealogy television series brought to you by JLTV, Jewish Gen, and the Museum of Jewish Heritage.
I can tell you that in my entire life, my professional life, I have interviewed governors and senators and future presidents. And the day I taped Generations was the best day of my professional life. It was an amazing journey for me. And I hope and pray we have more opportunities to produce more episodes of Generations. At this time, I want to introduce my partner in crime. She was the most amazing chief genealogist on this episode and hopefully more. Her name is Karen Franklin. Karen, take it away.
Well, thank you, Scott. And thank you all for joining us. I have to say that Brad, sorry. It was such a great privilege for me to participate in every aspect of this production. And I wanted to tell everyone how it began because it was really, I think, a chance meeting between Brad and the director of the museum, Jack Klieger, where the idea was hatched. And to flesh it out and to expand it to what it would become today, we had to really translate a who do you think you are kind of idea to something that was Jewish. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit specifically, but really before we get to that, just to talk a little bit about the way that we selected the people for the project and how that came about. because I think one thing that's different from Who Do You Think You Are is when that began, not that many people really had a full and complete understanding of who their ancestors were. When we took a list of potential candidates of sports stars and television people, entertainers, and the like, politicians, many of them already knew quite a bit about their families. So it was a question of both, can we find something really interesting that they didn't know, and also could we expand beyond a Holocaust story to exactly what Brad just showed you here, which was an important American story. And what he showed you was just a piece of the American story. There's much more. So there were all these different ways that we wanted to bring together important Jewish themes. And yeah, so one more little story about selecting a person. We delved in detail into a few people before we decided about them, and one of them. Well, let me start so you'll be able to see. Should we switch over to the? No, I'll come back to that.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, I'll come back to it. We'll go to the next one, right? Very good. So the story of Mel Brooks, which I'll go to. I really didn't know that much about Mel Brooks. First thing I did, what are you going to do? You're going to look at Ancestry.com, MyHeritage, Genie. We looked, my colleague and I, and there was really the usual stuff, but didn't take it back. There were no major trees. We couldn't really get that far, didn't know what town. So we thought, oh, we'll put it away for another day. We'll look for another celebrity. And then my friend called me up a little later in the day, she said, Karen, he wrote an autobiography. So here we were, these very narrowly focused genealogy people, but when you're working with major candidates, with major celebrities, often you can look outside the box a little bit. Okay, so why is Generations different from all other genealogy shows? First of all, it is generations. In some of the other genealogy programs, you have a celebrity. It's as if they came out of a bubble, a balloon, a ball, they're by themselves. But we all have families, and just as we have autobiographies, we also have parents and children who are able both to help us with our work, but also know quite a bit of those stories that both are integral, important in their own, and also give us clues to go further. So in Generations, we included not only Cameron herself, but also her mother, who was just one of those amazing, fabulous people who transmitted not only genes, but also a sense of honor, a sense of understanding of history, and giving to her family.
And she's 97, 98 years old. I mean, she's amazing.
Right. She was amazing. She was just amazing and beloved also. So Cameron, you may recognize from The Practice. I actually, and also from Law and Order. I didn't really know who she was until I saw the photo and said, oh, yes. But of course, it's the third generation that's really the kicker here. It's her son, Milo Mannheim. Now, I have to admit to you, I wasn't really all that familiar with who Milo was. So what did I do about it? I asked my, at the time, 7-year-old granddaughter, and I said, Liza, have you ever heard of Milo Mannheim? And she looked at me and she said, so I guess if you're 7 years old, it's a common knowledge of who Milo Mannheim is. And I have to say, I was absolutely smitten with the boy. He's just a sweet, sweet young man. And just a little side story, because, Karen Franklin comes along with stories. There's a Jewish joke about the rabbi playing golf on Yom Kippur who hits a hole in one. And the angel says to him, why did you do that? Give it, and the God says to the angel, he says, yeah, but who's he going to tell? And so this was a kind of similar situation with Milo. I was smitten. I thought, my granddaughter is going to love this if I take a photo with Milo Mannheim. So I asked him for a photo. He said he'd take a selfie. I looked at the photo. It is the worst photo that has
Stop.
been taken of me. So I
Stop.
will never live it down and I will never show anybody that photo. But okay, off topic, moving on. The next thing that's so different about Generations is the volunteers. We didn't have a dusty archivist somewhere up in northern England who was working with us. We had dozens of volunteers, wonderful volunteers. Brad mentioned Alex. I also just want to add to that, there was a wonderful, wonderful volunteer in Israel who was retired from the Jewish National Library, and his name is Oren Kaplan. We would be texting with him, writing with him in the middle of the night, which was for me in the middle of the night, for Brad early evening, and Oren was 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he was just amazing. There were others as well who helped us quite significantly. Daniel Drato in Belgium, Marcel Apsel in Belgium, and you'll see where that part of the story comes in.
And I must say, Karen, every single one of those volunteers, you will see their name on the screen at the end of the show.
Exactly.
Every single one.
Exactly. So this is the Museum of Jewish Heritage, and we're about objects. And we wanted to make sure that the family received something tangible from their family history. And since there's a connection to a synagogue in Belgium, that's why we were there. We thought, and the synagogue is still in existence, but not in good shape. We discovered a brick that we could give to them that was from the synagogue that their ancestor founded in the 1920s. And the problem with this object was that the people in Belgium didn't really want to give them the brick. Why? Because what the heck would Americans want with a brick? So it did not have to do with the value, but rather the cost of shipping a brick from Belgium. But we convinced them, and the family was very happy to have its brick. There's the brick.
You'll see it on Monday.
Yep. And I think I have a little section of the show, another part about the synagogue. I'm going to try and play it.
Is the audio working? Is there audio, Karen?
The audio isn't working.
What's that?
Audio is not working.
Oh, the audio is not working. That's what you said?
Okay, so go to the next one. It's
All
okay.
right, we'll
They'll
go
see it
to
on
the
Monday.
next slide. Thank you for letting us know. Sorry about that. Okay, so the slides showed about the synagogue that their ancestor had founded, this Yankel. And from the information that we found, the synagogue's building is still in existence. And Cameron's brother Carl is in the process of working with the local Belgium community to see if that synagogue can be restored, repurposed, and the meetings are ongoing. So there was a result of our research we could not have anticipated in terms of current restitution of property, of bringing the story to the current times. And as far as bringing the story to the current times, I would also like to tell you, well, and just a little bit about that. These are some of the opportunities that we might have for working with the synagogue in the community today, and that's a whole other section, whole other story. One thing that came clear from our work was the contemporary nature of history moving ahead. So what do I mean by that? Our filming of this event, our taping of the show occurred at the end of September 2023. And Brad showed me, I don't know, what's it called? The first cut, Brad, what is it? The first cut of the film in early 2024. And my heart skipped a beat. I gasped. There was a very serious problem with the show that we had taped that made me extremely fearful. And that was that adorable heartthrob Milo Manheim was wearing a Magen David. And if you can go back in your own minds to the beginning of late 2023, early 2024, what was going on in college campuses, it still continues, but not the way it was at that particular moment when we were all so fearful. I was worried that this young boy who was proudly showing his Jewish identity, when he went on television with that he could be in some danger and that his career could take a shift. I was very, very concerned about it. And there was a second item that I was also fearful of in the section. I'm giving a little bit away, but perhaps it'll give you something to think about when you watch the show. We find that this great grandfather in Belgium was actually tailed and followed by the police for many, many months in 1936 for his political activities. And what were those political activities? He was a Zionist, which meant at the time that he was assisting in the escape of Jews to go to Palestine. And so while we all know exactly what this entails, for someone watching the show who might not grasp what it was really about, we were also fearful for the family. That remains a fear for us, a concern, but not a fear. And perhaps it might even be an opportunity to be able to explain how this history fits into the larger Jewish history of the 20th century, but we will find out in the.
And that's part of the reason why there's been a delay in broadcasting this show, is we just thought it best to let the events of 10/7 settle down, settle in, bake in, and then bring the episode out when there isn't as much heat on the question. And because a lot of you, I got a lot of emails and texts and Facebook posts, when's this episode coming out? When's the episode coming out? We think this is the perfect moment in time for the episode to come out as everything's kind of cooling off, calming down. Continue, Karen.
Yeah, and there's also a part of the story that is related, which has to do with one of the branches of the family. I just want to mention it because I don't think it comes elsewhere, escaping from Belgium at that time in the late 1930s to Switzerland and ending up in a work camp in Switzerland.
Don't
And
tell them too much. Don't tell them too much.
Well, if they want to know what that means, they have to watch the Jewish Gen program next
Exactly.
Tuesday at 2 o'clock, because that's exactly what it's
Oh,
about. We also didn't know about earlier. Okay, so now the anecdotes from the show. I'm almost finished. One of them was, as we were leaving filming, Cameron's wonderful, delightful mother, who is 98 at the time, she had set up in her house a number of photographs for us to take a look at. There was even a family reunion cookbook. And after the interview, Brad was pushing me out, and I thought to myself, we're doing objects, we're showing physical family mementos. There's a cookbook. I'm going to make a recipe from the cookbook, and next time I see them, I'm going to give them a recipe. Maybe it's a good chomp, maybe it's a nice stuffed cabbage. So I was just taking some photos with my camera real fast, and Brad was pushing me out, and I got out and I went to the car and I looked to see what the recipe was that I had captured with my camera, and it was for dirt. Now, I did not know what dirt was, and I had to look very hard for it, but this is dirt. Dirt is apparently, good housekeeping recipe from magazines in the 1970s. It has to do with chocolate that looks like dirt and little gummy worms. I decided maybe I'd skip the dirt and we'll just move on to something else that has to do with the family. Now, Alex Kalzareth, this is also with Alex, has yet another contribution to our story. This is about Cameron's frosty cousins, because there was a line in Cameron's family. Some of her ancestors were Frost. You heard about Jacob Harris in detail from Brad, and notice that his wife is Rachel Frost. And that family was in Tennessee. And you can actually see there's some of the cousins, the Frosts, in Tennessee from this particular ancestry note. So we were on a call, and I think that Alex was sort of looking, not paying much attention, checking out frosts in Tennessee, and he found winter frost in Tennessee, which I think we may actually have used on a forum last year. And so we were wondering, what could he be related? Possibly not, but it got us going to the Winter Frost Cemetery, and you can see that Winter Frost siblings were White Frost, Snow Frost, Young Frost, and they were born in 1837, and we got going, and we realized that there were two cousins, two brothers, who must have had some sort of joke with each other, and they all named in two families, and there could be more. But this one was severe winter frost. I mean, you guys have to be kidding, but it actually is true because I looked in the census, and there's severe W frost. So somebody had a sense of humor. I don't know what you would do if they were really Jewish names, how you would manage that. But I asked Cameron, I said, do you think you're related? And she said, no, we're from the frostbite branch. So I guess that they weren't related. So as Brad mentioned, to acknowledging the volunteers, I think this is most of them. As you can see from all over the world, we when we do our next one, we hope, and we'll be looking for more volunteers, and you're welcome to let us know. The last one we don't have, so let's get rid of the screen sharing. And back to you, Brad.
Yeah, I just have to say this whole process was among the most enjoyable processes I've ever had the blessing of being involved with. Karen and her team were phenomenal. And that Frost story, that story didn't make it. I mean, there's so many elements that didn't make it. If you go to the Generations webpage, which we can you and share screen?
Yeah, we're working on that.
Wait, you're trying to end it?
Yeah.
Oh, you just press the red button on the screen to your right, where you're sharing, on the top.
Yeah.
So what we would love to do is answer any questions that you have, and I
got
see
them at the
some
bottom, and I'm gonna
questions
turn it to you
in
to.
the chat. And so
No, I guess
I'll just start
I'll
going.
turn it to you so you can.
Why would there be a sudden surname change in a family along with the change in residence town, Poland mid-1980s? Karen?
I turn it over to my colleague here. All right, so read it again, why?
Why would there be a sudden surname change in a family along with a change of residence town in Poland in the mid-1800s?
In Poland itself, in other words, I'm not sure I understand the whole question. The last name was Harris. We're not sure what.
Yes.
I'm.
We don't think Harris was the Polish last name, but we could not find what it really was.
Well,
Right.
my recollection, wow, it was a while ago since we did it, but we didn't have a birth date, and there were plenty of people who it might have been, and we didn't have the connective tissue to confirm exactly, to make that absolute connection. Yes, this one was born in 1842 on January 1st, and that one was. So we could never be absolutely sure what that would be. I just have to make a joke. We spoke with Hadassah Lipsius about understanding, this was important with regard to the peddling, what Polish Jews, who would be here in the 1850s, it would have been more likely. That's why there were so many German Jews who were in the army and not necessarily Polish Jews, because there weren't that many in the United States. So why would they have come? And Hadassah said they might have been really, really poor or really, really wealthy and already had a number of people, a web of business connections and associates that were already set up. So that's why we kind of laughed originally when we saw the Bacon guys, because they could have, I mean, other than it was Bacon, it would make sense that that might have been a person who had come from Poland already with money. But what we did find was they were from Warsaw, but it was Warsaw province, and it was an area that was fairly far west in Poland. So
there are a lot of questions about how can we watch the program. Let me be clear. Of course, we're on traditional television, DirecTV, Comcast, Charter, Cox, whatever it may be, but we're also on a lot of non-traditional platforms. So a platform like Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch JLTV. Zumo. If you are a Charter customer, a Comcast customer, you have access to Zumo. So just go to jltv.tv/channels, to find out how you can watch JLTV. We are really available in so many different places, even if your traditional video or satellite operator does not provide JLTV. Lots of different ways to watch. Please.
I'll answer one. There was a question about Cameron's family from Posen. Yes, Cameron's Polish family, the Frost family itself came from the Posen area. The Harris family was from Poland, Warsaw, further east, but the Frost family was from Posen, and we have more information about them.
We have a question about whether we plan to have Sephardic or Mizrahi people on. Absolutely. We plan to have a whole panoply of folks with a variety of Jewish heritage. I see Marcel Apsel from Belgium is on this. Good to see you, Marcel. It means a lot to us that you were there. How can professional genealogists become involved as volunteers? Reach out to Karen Franklin at Jewish Gen.
Thanks a lot. That's my line. I usually say, if you have any questions, here's my colleague, here's this email. So now you're doing it to me, huh?
Right.
Yes.
Someone asked if we found any relatives in Vicksburg, Mississippi. We did not. We did not find anything out of Vicksburg, but I will tell you that this book, if you're looking for the story about Jewish soldiers in the Civil War, this is an outstanding book. I urge you to read it. It's outstanding.
The question about PR materials, we will get you that information and post it on Jewish Gen, because we do have a PR committee that's working on it. So thank you. We appreciate Ellen, your asking that question.
Actually, on the Jewish Gen Facebook page, information about the premiere has already been posted. So if you go to Jewish Gen's Facebook page, you'll be able to share that post. I actually did that this morning. I shared it on Facebook groups and shared it on my profile. So I encourage
I'm gonna put this up again. There was a request that I put up this slide. So here we go. JLTV.tv/channels will tell you how to watch JLTV. JLTV.tv/show/generations will give you more information, some behind the scenes, extended scenes. And then let us not forget that we want to hear from you about why you love Generations. And so what I'd like to do is put up the QR code again.
Brad, do you know anything about watching internationally from London or Israel? Those questions have been asked.
Give me 1 second, and I will definitely answer that question. So please take a picture of this QR code, because we want to hear what you think about Generations.
I think we only want to hear if they like it, right?
We want to hear everything. I'll leave that up for a second.
Okay, so if you have any bad reviews, contact Brad.
In terms of international exhibition, we are available in the United States and Canada. In terms of internationally, the episode will be available on demand through our website after the premiere, so you can reach out to watch the episode on demand in anywhere in the world. How can you propose something? Go to the QR code. If you want to reach out to us, there's a link to a survey. In that survey, you can reach out to us. Question, do you have any other episodes filmed? We don't have any other episodes filmed. We'd like to have episodes filmed. Candidly, right now we are in the process of seeking support both from the for-profit and nonprofit sectors on that survey. If you have any ideas about entities that you believe may be interested in supporting future episodes of Generations, we'd love to hear from you. So you can go back to the, I'll put it on the screen again. You click on the QR code, and that's a way to reach out to us if you want to give us a sense of who you think might be interested in supporting us, both in the for-profit world and in the nonprofit world. Keep typing questions. I'm just looking again.
About the association, good idea about the Holocaust associations to promote elsewhere professionally organizations, other professional organizations.
Yeah, there's a question. Wouldn't a DNA search from Ancestry or 23andMe have helped to see what other Polish relatives there were? So we definitely did DNA testing on Cameron and Milo. On our website is an extended clip about what we found through the DNA. We also do a shorter segment on the show about DNA. Karen did analyze the DNA, and it did not reveal anything specific as it related to Polish relatives.
But
Surprises.
there was a whole Czech branch and a number, and that side of the family is quite close and they all know each other. For our purposes, we weren't, it was not to unite people that they didn't know. It was really to explore the history. In this case, it certainly could be done for other, shows that we do and other people we identify, but this one just wasn't our concern for this one.
Yes, and look, if you want to reach out to me with any ideas, I don't mind giving my email. I'm an open book. My email is very simple. Brad at jltv.tv. Brad at jltv.tv. If you have ideas, thoughts, questions, concerns, I would love to hear from you. Brad at jltv.tv. Yeah, we are doing a lot of press. Press release went out last week. Lots of social media is going out this week. The Mannheims will be posting on social media, Jewish Gen portal. Go to the Jewish Gen Facebook page. You can share information about generations through the Facebook page, Instagram. Karen, have you reached, does the Association of Holocaust Organizations know about this? I know that you're involved with that organization.
We'll let them know. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, for further rebroadcast and
Yeah. Question about the QR code. The QR code takes you to a web page, and then when you look on that web page, you'll see a box that says "Take me to the survey." The QR code, yes. Yeah, closed captions. We're working on closed captions. The schedule. So Generations is premiering on Monday, March 3rd, not Tuesday, March 4th. So if you look on your program guide, Monday, March 3rd, 9 o'clock Eastern and Pacific. So it's airing twice on that night. And then it's, of course, going to repeat often throughout the month. You're looking at it would be helpful. So yeah, someone asked, how does our show differ from PBS, Finding Your Roots, which is a fine show. There's a few.
it's better.
Yeah.
It's better.
I'm the host. There are a few ways that we distinguish ourselves. One of them, and Karen hinted at it, and this is something that we developed, is that we are providing artifacts to our guests, meaning something to take home, something to touch, something to feel, something that's passed down through the generations. Another element is our show is generational. So we're not just bringing on the celebrity, we're bringing on family members of the celebrity. And if the family happens to have 2 or 3 generations of celebrities, that's great. That's why, for example, we brought on Cameron and Milo, but we also brought on their mother, Cameron's mother, and we brought on Cameron's brother at the end of the show. That's another element. We are also taking a much deeper dive into DNA than some of the other shows have done. Even the few minutes that we spoke about DNA on this episode, in addition to the extra scene that you'll find on our website, it's a much deeper dive. And we're also trying to give our audience a sense of the process. The segment that you saw earlier today, that was our way to say genealogy is accessible to you. Our partners, Jewish Gen. This is an organization that specializes in helping people, Jewish or not, that may have Jewish roots, navigate the genealogy process. So we're not just throwing information at you, we're showing you how to go through the process. So those are the 4 ways that we attempt to distinguish ourselves. If you have other ideas, email me. We're kind of in development on future episodes. And so that's where we stand. Would you consider having non-celebs? Our definition of celebrity is very broad. It could include people from the business world, the sports world, the political world. Might we have a regular person on? Why not? Something to consider. I'm just
Thank you for your pride. We're happy too.
yeah.
We made a contribution.
Oh, thank you for that. In terms of the QR code, if you go to jltv.tv/show/generations, I will put that on the screen again. That is the way to get to the survey. It's on that page. JLTV. Actually, when I open it, and I will show you exactly where it is. Here's the page. Right here. Want more generations? Take the survey. It's right there. And then there's the trailer, sneak peeks, and here's our extended clip on DNA if you want to watch that. And then, of course, our partners with whom we could never have done this, JewishGen, the Museum of Jewish Heritage. So here's the survey right there. Take the survey. And the more people that respond to that survey, the more we can show that there's a big interest. Brad, did everyone see that? Were you able to see that?
Yes, we were.
No? Huh, I just got that people didn't see that. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. If y'all didn't see it, I'm going to do it again. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Hold on a second. So I'm going to do this one more time. Are you seeing the website right now? Okay, good. Okay, I have someone in my office. Interesting. So it's not changing when I go to the next page. Let me try to do this differently, if I may. Give me 1 second. I'm going to do this differently. Okay, let me try it this way now. Okay, are you seeing the website now? Perfect. Okay. And do you see right here, want more generations? Take the survey. That's what you would do. And then if you want to see the trailer, sneak peeks, and the extended clips on DNA and genealogy resources. So take the survey. Is it going to take you to the survey? Yep. And there's the survey. I'm glad. Thank you for letting us know that that was not viewable. What else can we tell you? Finding Your Roots has a lot of glaring errors and details about Jewish families, and they have no Jewish genealogists participating in the research. I hope you were able to avoid those errors. I will tell you that we did our darndest to make sure that we got it right. And I can tell you that we got it right in large part because of Karen Franklin and her team of 50 volunteers who were absolutely amazing. Where is my Karen? I don't see her. I see the handsome rabbi. I'm looking for the one.
Thank you.
The wonderful
Thank you, Brad.
technologist. And look, as you saw when I went through, did Jacob Harris serve in the Union military? Much of that didn't make it into the show, but we wanted to make sure we got it right. And so the research that we did is even well beyond what you saw or will see on Monday. And so I think we got it right. Please.
A final comment, because sometimes it's not right or wrong, but it's more detailed or more explanation, or maybe the things that we surmise might be more accurate. So there's a whole section in there about I won't tell you which ancestor, but a woman leaving her husband, and it was Brad who made who figured it out. who made the discovery, probably why she left, the husband left the wife, and it did not have to do necessarily with their relationship. So I'll leave that as a little
Yeah,
note.
no,
Why did the husband leave? And so it's not right or wrong, it's just our best guess that adds to the historical perspective and information.
and we put that in there. I made it very clear. This is our analysis. This is our interpretation. Let's just say TMZ would be very proud of Cameron's great grandparents, one set of great grandparents. You'll really enjoy that element. I'm trying to see if there are any more questions that we can answer. We are here to answer anything you have. Do you ever do translation work? Well, we definitely 100% had to have the languages that we had to have translated were Polish, Yiddish, Flemish, and German. So those are the 4 languages we had to have translated: Polish, Yiddish, German, and Flemish. And no French, yeah, because it was the northern part of Belgium. I'm just scrolling. There's no question we're on Amazon Prime. It will not be on ILTV. It's on JLTV. It's definitely on Amazon Prime. You just need to do a search for JLTV or Jewish Life Television. It's free. It's available to all Amazon Prime customers. If you have an issue, email me and I can send you more directions. Brad@jltv.tv. Brad@jltv.tv. Is there any other questions? I'm just kind of flying through here to see if there's any other. Do you talk about finding the travel information of the ancestors, where, when, and how they came? A little bit, but there's no question we did find records. Karen and her team found records in terms of the boats that they were on, etc. We don't go super deep into that. But we did find that for sure. I'm just looking. Keep typing those questions. Again, why? We don't hear you, Karen, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. There's also one other element that I hadn't even thought about until now, and that's with regard to not only is there a connection to contemporary politics with regard to the Zionist issue, but also with Cameron's father and during the McCarthy era, and what happened to him and what happened to the family. And that could be of real interest to viewers today to think about that a little further.
I will tell you, if you watch closely, there were times where I was getting choked up. It was that moving for me. The camera would tend to come, the director would put take a different shot so you couldn't really see it. But listen closely and watch closely, and you'll see me getting choked up. Just a little background so you know. So Milo and my children went to elementary school together. I didn't really know him that well. I didn't know Cameron that well. We knew each other, but I wouldn't say that we were friends. One of her very good friends is a very good friend of mine and my wife's. And I called her friend. I said, we're very interested in Cameron Manheim. Can you do a shidduch? And that's how it happened. Cameron knew when our friend Janet Shaw called her and said, do you remember Brad Pomerantz? She did remember me. So when you watch the episode, there's a little bit of familiarity between Cameron and I, but not a huge amount. But by the end, you can see we're like mishpucha. We really got very close. That whole process throughout the episode was very, it kind of attached us.
Brad, one of the things I think about when I think about the episodes, and this is not a criticism of any other genealogy program, but you note that in some programs there's a big book and they turn from page to page, and I love the way ours just swipe. They swipe from
yeah, that's another way we're different. Yeah, we use modern technology. We use an iPad, and they're swiping to see the documents, and they're put on the screen as well. But as we conclude, it's obviously our hope and dream to do more episodes. We're working on it now. I think we should be moving forward, but again, we need as much support as possible. So feel free to go to the survey if you have ideas about, you know, who might be interested in supporting Generations. I will put up the QR code again, so you have it. The more people that respond to the survey, the more likely it is we're able to bring you more Generations. We share, here we go. There's the QR code right there. And again, I have no issue. You can always email me, brad@jltv.tv. I just want to say finally that I am so incredibly grateful to JewishGen and the Museum of Jewish Heritage. Without them, we could never have done this show. Without Karen and her team, we could never have done this show. And I cannot wait to continue working with the team because it's a remarkable team. We are so lucky to have JewishGen in the museum. If you haven't worked with JewishGen, I urge you, if you haven't gone to the new Calico Center in Battery Park, New York, which Karen and the rabbi are in right now, it's a phenomenal resource. So I urge you to become a friend and family member of JewishGen.
Thank you.
Of course.
A tremendous thank you to Brad and to Karen. We are super excited for the premiere of Generations, and it's going to be taking place again this Monday, March 3rd. We hope that all of you will tune in. Thank you again, Brad. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so
And
much.
I just want to remind everyone that there's going to be a follow-up email after this call that's going to contain the link to the recording and a survey. And also, we want to remind you that there's going to be another webinar next week uncovering the clandestine passage of Jews to Switzerland, 1942 to 1944, using the Swiss and French archives. So it's very apropos. And so we hope
And after I, rudely cut off Karen, that's what she was promoting. There's a small Swiss element in our show.
exactly.
Oh.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you all for being here today.
Monday, 9 o'clock, March 3rd, JLTV.
Look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you there.
Brad.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everybody.